It can be pretty tempting to view yourself from the outside looking in, like you're watching a movie, just observing some random act, some random time. And when you do that, it becomes habitual, becomes a part of you. And you can almost feel like your entire life is just that. Just kind of you on the outside looking in, always looking in at something, always watching it from afar. And to to continuously live that does something to you, how you see things. Funny part about that is it goes both ways. Because at the end of the day, just by the very fact of your own observations, what you're seeing, what you're perceiving, that doesn't make you an outsider. What are you outside of? Some imagined construct? Some illusory belief that you thought would give you something? What exactly are you outside of? You're not outside of anything at the end of the day. You just are. You're just you're just there. You know they say, it's never that deep, bro. This this kind of applies to that. You just are. And you're observing everything. And maybe you're participating in it. But just by the very fact of your own observation and your perception, that doesn't imply in any way that you're an outsider. It implies that you are just there. You are being. But what is there to be outside of? Whatever you say there is to be outside of. So why there has to be a level of accountability. Again, not blame. Blame doesn't do anything. I've said that before. I'll continue to say it. It doesn't do anything. It gets in the way, if anything. There has to be accountability in the sense of your own role in perpetuating this whole act. And I say this as somebody who was notorious for it. Even found some echoes of it recently. What really doesn't matter, I'm just always on the outside. Always on the outside looking in. Like I'm watching a movie. And I love movies, don't get me wrong. But when you feel like that's your entire life, it can be pretty alienating. And you don't know how to go about remediating that in the moment. Almost seems like you might not be able to. Though fundamentally, again, just by the very act of your observation, is it demonstrably? Let's go with that one. Demonstrably. Yeah, it's good for the illustrations. demonstrably proves that you are not the outsider. You're the observer. In that moment, you are the observer. We're just there, and we're just here. Everything else really is just added on. It's kind of I don't want to say forced. Probably let's go with like unconsciously adopted. I think we can all agree on that. Since childhood, pretty much. Then you have to strip everything away to reveal what's actually always been underneath. That requires an active role. You have to acknowledge yourself as both the observer and the participant. It's very meta. I think that's probably why I like it. At the end of the day, I do like it. I enjoy the thought experiments and stuff like that. But when the rubber meets the road, you got to be willing to actually, okay, kind of step out. You almost like it's like fourth wall because you step out of it. You're like, okay, I'm seeing this, and I would normally say that, yeah, I'm just an outsider. I'm just always on the outside looking in. Always on the outside looking in. A stranger, no matter where I go. That's just the theme. Then you catch that realization, the refractory period, right? You catch it. You're like, well, what's really behind this? Like, what's this really saying? What's this really about? And based on your own interpretation, you can do with that what you will. But that's major progress. Just the fact that you caught it, that you recognized it. I believe that that's a net advantage. But you have to believe it as well. I don't want to say it's. I don't. I'm not trying to like over dramatize this. You know what I mean? But I'm trying to paint an accurate picture. I don't want to say that this mindset is addicting because I don't know if that's the right word. It can be very. It can be very chronic though, habitual, because you just continually reinforcing it. Like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Everywhere you go, you start to feel like that. And every experience or the different experiences, the different people, they just seemingly confirm that to you. Remember, don't live in the mirror, right? That is living in the mirror, right there, because you're letting the mirror define you. You're letting it just literally strengthen your once probably fairly malleable worldview. Not some more. Now it's stiff. It's too hard. So you're in that loop. I mean, there's really nothing that can be said about that. That hasn't already been said. And then you come out of it, right? And you're like, no, that was the old me, or no, like that's suggesting something that ain't true. The outsider. What am I outside of? What is there to be inside of? Right? Talk about think outside the box. What box, bro? What box? Dang. Like no disrespect, but where'd you get a box from? These are the things, man. These are the things that keep you up at night. But in all seriousness, yeah, is you're not an outsider. You're not an outsider. And honestly, at the end of the day, you never really were. Because there's never anything to be inside of anyway. Everything just was. That clique that you thought you were outside of, what even was that? Do those people really know each other? That's its own set of questions. That group, that's those people, that institution, all of it represented some sort of ideal in itself. Something that you thought was unattainable. Or something that, if gained, you would feel whole. It was out there, you were seeking it. I'm talking to myself as well, okay? Just to clarify that. It was out there. You were seeking it. Implying that you did not have it within yourself. It was out there, you were chasing it. Implying that it was running away from you. It was out there, not in here. You had to go get it. It wasn't given to you. You had to go get it. Grind. Hustle. Do the work. All of it, all the work, except the work that you were actually supposed to do, which would have completed everything else. The inner work. The work of understanding who exactly you are. What exactly you are. What exactly you're supposed to be doing here in this thing called life. Not what society says you should be doing. Not what your parents say you should be doing, even though they might have good intentions. You know you. Not what your friends say you should be doing. Your lovers, spouses. Not what they say you should be doing. Again, at the end of the day, it's no one's gonna know you better than you know yourself. But you can go both extremes with that. You can really do it and pursue it, and even sacrifice your mind at the cost of it. In the worst case scenarios, obviously, being a bit theatrical, or you could just say like no, no, and be just literally the picture of ignorance when it comes to who you actually are. Look everywhere, but in the mirror. Then expect the mirror to smile at you. That's not how that works. It's not going to do that. You can't even be mad when it doesn't do that. It's a reflection. It's a reflection, not a sort of representation of truth. Now we're getting real philosophical, right? Just playing around. But it's not a representation of truth. It's just a reflection. And a reflection is not a verdict. Yeah? You can change a reflection. But you have to be aware that you can change the reflection. Right? You have to if you don't know that you can do that, you're never gonna do it. You don't think that you can do it, you're never gonna do it. If you smile in the mirror, look at that. The mirror smiles back at you. But I think the most important thing is not feeling the need to constantly smile in the mirror in order to see that something's working. Right? That was a long way of saying basically you don't need the constant validation of external circumstances to know who it is that you are and that you have made a lot of progress. Because needing that is in itself, again, you just fell back into a different trap. Now you need the constant external validation. You need the hit. You need the dopamine. Has its own set of problems again. Most importantly, though, it takes you away from yourself. Because you start really liking that stuff. It's just like, it feels good. It feels real good at first. You don't notice that, you're really getting you're real used to it. Almost dependent on it. See? Then it gets taken away. You lose a little bit of it. Now you're asking questions. Now you're having an identity crisis. Now you're confused. Now when you look in the mirror, you don't exactly know who it is that's staring back at you. Because you forgot who you were. Because you looked out there for the answer. And out there can never give you the answer. It can only confirm the answer in here. I promise you. I truly do promise you. If you know who you are and you operate with that knowledge, unconsciously, you don't have to, you'll get to a point unconsciously. It's always there. It's the base, right? It's got to be a foundation. And you keep that in mind everywhere you go and with everyone you interact with. I promise you, you will never again forget. It's chiseled into your mind at that point. You can't forget it. Even if you want to, sometimes you can't do it. Now it truly is a part of you, almost almost in a symbiotic like fashion, because it gives you that knowledge, and it in turn gains what you've gained from that knowledge: actual confidence, true groundedness, presence, degree of calm, equanimity, but also at times raw passion, extreme rage. I'm talking the energy that has to be transmuted. Okay, that kind of vitality, that kind of vigor. You got to do something with that energy. You have to. So it's interesting, I guess. Though the main point, if these things can be said to have a point, I don't really think they need to have one. Is that when you always get in the position of the observer, it can be very tempting to say that, I'm an outsider. I'll always be an outsider. I'm just on the outside looking in at everything. You're not on the outside looking in at anything. There's nothing to look in at. That's that's societal conditioning. That doesn't exist. That's not real. Truly, that isn't real. It's societal based conditioning. It got me as well. It gets everybody pretty much. That's okay. We take accountability for that. We move forward. We move on with actual self understanding and knowledge that we don't need anything outside of us to validate what's going on within us. That's a bar right there. I'm going to say that again. We don't need anything outside of us to validate what's going on within us. We know what's going on within us. That's reflected outside of us. We are aware of what is going on within us. We see representations of that outside of us. Representations of the phenomena. That doesn't mean they're truth. Okay, that's a whole different topic right now. Just want to clarify that. You can't tell I like philosophy. But nonetheless, I I digress. I digress. You're the observer in those scenarios. Think of it like that. And an observer just observes. Doesn't attach anything onto it. There's no label. There's no Everybody these days feels the need to label everything. To label literally everything. Okay, I think because it's comforting, right? There is no label. There's there's never been one. There doesn't need to be one. It isn't required. It doesn't exist. Okay? There is no label. It does not exist. You're just observing. Observing phenomena. Observing your own phenomena inside of yourself. Maybe you have feelings of anger, right? A lot of energy. Maybe you're wondering, maybe you're having a little bit of those echoes of living in the mirror. You're like, yeah, this is BS. This situation is actually a joke. Like I can't believe I even have to deal with this garbage. The fact that I even have to deal with it is ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like that type of stuff. Then you just observe. You just actually ground yourself and are just aware of your own existence. If that isn't Zen, I don't know what is. And you come to really, understand on an experiential level, because you're directly experiencing it at that moment, that you were never outside of anything. You were just you. And that's not a problem. That doesn't need a solution because it isn't a problem. Remember that, brothers and sisters. God bless each and every one of you. And also, always remember who it is that you are.